Welcome back to 7-6 Ground School Chick. In today's video, I'm going to walk you step by step through the complete takeoff procedure in a Cessna 172 Sierra using X-Plane 12. This picks up exactly where we left off in our run-up video. Engine's healthy, all checks complete, and we're ready to take the active runway. I'll guide you through the proper radio calls, precise taxi procedures, and the complete takeoff sequence at a Class Delta towered airport, all using real-world procedures for our fuel-injected C-172 Sierra. Whether you're training for your private pilot certificate, simming for proficiency, or just want to understand professional takeoff procedures, this comprehensive lesson is for you. We are at Santa Monica Airport, KSMO, departing runway 21 in Cessna 172 Sierra Papa. We're positioned in the run-up area, having just completed our before takeoff checklist. Engine parameters look good, and we're ready to contact ground control for taxi clearance to the active runway. Before we can take the active runway, we have several critical steps to complete, exactly as you'd perform it in real flight training. First, since we've completed our run-up, we need to report our position to ground control. We're currently in the run-up area, and we need clearance to taxi to the hold short line. Here's the proper call. Santa Monica Ground, Cessna 172 Sierra Papa, run-up complete, ready to taxi runway 21, VFR departure to the north. Notice I'm providing 4 key pieces of information: my call sign, my status, run-up complete, my specific taxi request, and my departure intentions. This helps ground control coordinate with tower about sequencing and any potential conflicts with arriving traffic or other departures. Ground will respond with something like Cessna 2 Sierra Papa, Santa Monica Ground, taxi runway 21 via Bravo, Bravo 5. Contact tower 120.1. I'll read back. Taxi runway 21 via Bravo, Bravo 5. Contact tower 120.1, 172 Sierra Papa. As I taxi to the hold short line, I'm maintaining taxi speed around 1,000 RPM and staying alert for other aircraft and ground vehicles, approaching the hold short line for runway 21 at Bravo 5. I'll stop well before the solid hold short line. Never cross it without explicit clearance from tower. Before contacting tower, let me quickly verify our takeoff configuration. Doors and windows locked, seat belts fastened. Flaps are up for normal takeoff, mixture is full rich, fuel selector is on both, and elevator trim is set to takeoff position. These items should already be set from our run-up, but it's good airmanship to double-check. Now I contact Santa Monica Tower on 120.1. Santa Monica Tower, Cessna 172 Sierra Papa, holding short runway 21 at Bravo 5, ready for takeoff. I'm providing my call sign, my exact position, and my request. Tower will assess traffic and give me one of 2 responses. If the runway is clear, they'll likely say Cessna 172 Sierra Papa, runway 21 cleared for takeoff. In this case, I read back, cleared for takeoff, runway 21, 172 Sierra Papa, and I have legal authorization to enter the runway and depart immediately. However, if there's conflicting traffic, perhaps another aircraft taxiing for departure or crossing the runway, they might say Cessna 172 Sierra Papa, runway 21, line up and wait. I would read back, line up and wait, runway 21, 172 Sierra Papa. Then position myself on the runway and await subsequent takeoff clearance before advancing power. When I am cleared to cross the hold short line, with or without takeoff clearance, I first scan final approach to ensure no aircraft are on short final that tower might have missed. Clear final, good to proceed. I taxi onto the runway using rudder pedals to steer towards centerline. As I cross onto the runway surface, I verify the large painted runway numbers 21 to confirm that I am on the correct runway. I also cross-check my heading indicator with the runway heading. Runway 21 should show approximately 210 degrees. If it doesn't align, and if the numbers don't say 21, I'm on the wrong runway. A potentially fatal error. I use differential braking and rudder inputs to position precisely on centerline, rolling forward several feet to straighten the nose wheel. Aligned on centerline with runway verification complete, I smoothly advance the throttle to full power. A steady, deliberate motion taking approximately 2 to 3 seconds to reach maximum power. Immediately upon reaching full power, I cross-check all engine instruments, oil pressure in the green, oil temperature in the green, tachometer indicating approximately 2300 to 2400 RPM at full static power. If any parameter shows abnormal readings, I abort the takeoff immediately by reducing power and applying brakes. Engine parameters look good, so we continue. I keep my hand on the throttle throughout the takeoff roll in case I need to abort for any reason. As we begin to accelerate, I'm focused on maintaining precise centerline tracking using the rudder pedals. As we accelerate, I'm applying right rudder pressure to counteract the left turning tendencies from P-factor, torque effect, and spiraling slipstream. The amount of rudder pressure needed decreases as the airspeed increases and the rudder becomes more effective. I'm keeping my eyes focused down the runway centerline, using peripheral vision to monitor the airspeed indicator. Small, timely rudder corrections keep us tracking straight. It's much easier to maintain centerline with gentle inputs than to correct large deviations. Airspeed is building. 30 knots, 40 knots, 50 knots, 55 knots, rotate speed for our Cessna 172 Sierra. I applied gentle back pressure on the yoke, not a pull, just a gradual increase in back pressure. The nose wheel lifts off the ground and I establish a slightly nose-high attitude. I'm not forcing the airplane to fly. I'm letting it fly itself off when it's ready. We're airborne. Immediately, I establish a pitch attitude for 74 knots. That's VY, our best rate of climb speed for the Cessna 172 Sierra at sea level. This gives us the greatest altitude gain per unit of time. Climbing through 200 feet above ground level, maintaining 74 knots and runway heading 210. Here's something important at Santa Monica. Noise abatement procedures. For runway 21 departures, we maintain runway heading until we're over the ocean. This is a mandatory noise abatement procedure to minimize impact on residential areas. I'm maintaining coordinated flight with small rudder inputs, keeping the ball centered on the turn coordinator, cross-checking the airspeed, attitude, and tracking extended runway centerline visually. Passing 500 feet above ground level, still maintaining 74 knots and runway heading. Once we reach approximately 1,000 feet and are clear of immediate airport traffic, I can transition to the en route climb speed if desired. The POH recommends 70 to 85 knots for en route climbs, which provides better forward speed with only a slight reduction in climb rate. At this point, Tower will either issue a frequency change or we'll automatically be released from their frequency when exiting Class Delta airspace. Santa Monica's Class Delta extends to 2,700 feet above mean sea level and approximately 4 nautical miles from the airport. And that completes a normal takeoff procedure from a Class Delta airport in our Cessna 172 Sierra. In our next video, we'll cover climb-out procedures and transitioning to cruise flight. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.